LA This Week.
We have made a pivot from what we traditionally do to these emergency services. Today we're delivering 3,000 meals.
I hear a lot of people expressing that even that this doesn't exist. You look at what happened in New York, they were telling patients that they had to just go to a room and die.
The data that we get from counting everybody is then used to distribute funding and to determine political representation at all levels of government.
Hello everyone, I'm Saida Pagan. Here's what's happening in LA this week. While the finest medical and scientific experts around the world are working to find a cure for COVID-19, the vaccine itself seems pretty far off. In fact, there are large swaths of the population who simply don't believe this pandemic is real, much less deadly. We spoke with Dr. Otto Yang about a recent UCLA study that shows how denial of the facts and the spread of misinformation is impeding progress.
The study was looking at what happens to the antibody responses against the SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, how persistent those antibodies are and how they might be changing over time. What we saw was that, in fact, the antibody levels are dropping very quickly in that early time period after infection. It does suggest that immunity may not be very long-lasting. That's something that happens frequently. So it's not that every virus is one where you get an infection and you're protected for the rest of your life. The other 4 common coronaviruses that have been in humans for a long time, the common cold coronaviruses, it's pretty clear that immunity against those is not permanent and people can get reinfected with them. I hear a lot of people, especially on social media, expressing that even that this doesn't exist. So I recently had a confrontation with somebody who was saying he knew doctors all over the country and they've been telling him that COVID-19 doesn't even exist. More commonly, there are people that are saying that this has a very low death rate, less than 1%, and that it's just like the flu and we're making too big a deal out of it. But the flu doesn't fill ICUs with dying patients the way this disease has. So if you go and you look at what happened in New York when it was allowed to spread without control, their ICUs were overwhelmed. They were telling patients that they had to just go to a room and die because they didn't have enough ventilators. This is a much more contagious disease. Even though the death rate is not especially high, if a large number of people get infected, a small percentage of a large number is still a lot of people. This is a very serious disease. It's not something to be taken lightly. It's not something to be considered to be just the flu. It has had a huge toll already on our country, and if we don't do something about it, we'll continue to have a big toll.
With public city pools closed due to the pandemic, LA's families are left to beat the summer heat in their own backyards. And since LA City lifeguards don't patrol private pools, the Aquatics Division of Recreation and Parks sends this reminder: water safety should be practiced year-round.
Every summer, we do find that even kids that were in our swim lessons the year prior, sometimes they go that whole off season without being in the water, and they definitely do forget the skills that they've been taught from the previous year. So we definitely recommend checking in with the kids, having a safety talk before your family is going to go into any kind of body of water. Los Angeles has had an aquatics division operating for over 100 years now. And we offer recreational swim to the different communities of Los Angeles, water safety swim lessons to ensure that our communities and public are educated in how to be safe around the water. And we strive to provide a clean and safe environment for everyone in Los Angeles. Some of the challenges that we face every day are people maybe not necessarily being aware of their swim level, but we've been able to mitigate that risk by providing swim tests before anyone goes into the deep end. So whether they're children or adults, doesn't matter if you're over 18 or not, everyone must do at least 2 lengths of the pool with their arms coming outside of the water so they can demonstrate a proper stroke before they can go into the deep end and use our diving boards. We offer swim lessons and we utilize the American Red Cross guidelines for water safety instruction. We also offer youth sports swim teams and springboard diving, junior lifeguard programs. We offer adult swim lesson classes as well. So currently, all of our aquatics employees are working in other departments because our facilities are shut down. We are providing shelters for people experiencing homelessness who are one of the more vulnerable populations in our city during this pandemic. We have staff working out of recreation centers, monitoring the shelters. Aquatic staff has opened our locker rooms for those residents to use for showering on a daily basis. The thing that I find most rewarding about being an aquatic facility manager and just being a lifeguard in general is the ability to service our community by teaching them a skill, swimming, that could potentially save their life in the future. If not in this body of water, then maybe in another body of water out in their lives.
Staying safe at home has been challenging for all, including our pets. Well, thankfully, City Council member Mike Bonin was on hand to open a brand new dog park where pets and their owners have a chance to stretch their legs.
Today I am excited to be here for the official opening of the dog park at Glen Owl Park here on the west side. A brand new dog park with a place for big dogs, a place for small dogs, and a place for the community to come together.
Back in the 90s, we started coming to this park, and we've been always wanting the dog park, so it's really delightful that we now have this park.
This is something that I know the community has wanted for a very, very long time. This effort, the successful effort to get this done, has been a push in the work for 5 or 6 years now. I'm excited to be here today. You know, in the middle of the COVID pandemic, you do whatever you can to find things to celebrate and to appreciate, and this is something to really celebrate, to watch. As soon as this opened, the dogs just sort of swirling around in a playful circle was awesome, and watching the smiles on the faces of those who brought their dogs here was a treat as well.
I think it's wonderful because it is important to be outside and then breathe fresh air, and more than anything else, to watch the dogs being happy would uplift our souls as well. Being here with these dogs running around feels normal again.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, the ability to provide outdoor dining has been a saving grace for many of LA's neighborhood restaurants. For downtown San Pedro, it was a perfect storm of circumstances that moved a long-awaited urban development forward. Take a look.
We actually saw this little street side restaurant, you know, open air dining, Parisian style, you might say. And we just thought it looks pretty enjoyable, and the weather's beautiful. It's a good place to eat.
For a long time, we've been working with our stakeholders to try to come up with an outdoor dining pilot program. And so in the past year, what we did was we went ahead and created a pilot program along with the San Pedro Business Improvement District that gives us 18 to 24 month permit to do outdoor dining in the public right-of-way, as you see here. And so that got approved in September of last year, now as the pandemic hit in March. And so we ended up having a lot more restaurants that also needed to have outdoor spaces to keep themselves afloat.
Before we would only do takeouts, probably 10, 15 takeouts a day. And we have the takeouts plus outside seating, which is amazing for us.
The outdoor dining will make it easier for us as business owners, and I'm sure for the customers to feel more safe.
I know it's just 5 tables outside, but it makes so much more of a difference.
Now that they can get to about 60 to 70% of their capacity safely, they're staying afloat. This program is obviously keeping our downtown afloat as much as possible during these times.
We have had days that we haven't had don't have any seats available for the customer. So it shows that whatever the city is doing, it's helping.
It's been a dream in this community for a long time, so it's been very well received.
It really is nice to be able to come out, get out of the house and find that there are some places that are serving people, and it just makes for a nice beginning for the day for my wife and I here.
Well, I'm a strong believer in San Pedro, the unity that this community have. I think and I believe that most of the restaurants, most of the small businesses will come much stronger out of this.
Councilmember Blumenfield has hand sanitizer for CD3. Electric buses mean emissions-free public transit, and domestic workers may soon get protections from OSHA. These stories and more up next on City Beat.
America is home to some of the best hospitals, and Los Angeles in particular has a few. The staff of 5 Southland hospitals have received high marks from the U.S. News and World Report for their outstanding work. UCLA Health, UCI Health, Hoag Memorial Hospital Presbyterian, Keck Medical Center of USC, and USC Norris Cancer Hospital. The rankings give recognition to hospitals that excel in treating the most challenging patients and conditions. UCLA Health Hospitals in Westwood and Santa Monica took top honors with being #1 in both LA and California, with a #4 ranking in the country. The standard LA is setting with its work on zero emission is unprecedented, and now Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority has deployed its first zero emission bus for the G Line in San Fernando Valley, with 40 more buses planned by the end of the year. The G Line opened 15 years ago and runs 24/7. About half of the bus's line's 30,000 riders have returned since the pandemic hit. Los Angeles City Metro System will add 100 zero-emission buses in total by the end of 2020. More than half of nannies, home care workers, and house cleaners experience pressure to work in dangerous conditions by their employers. The report, Hidden Work, Hidden Paid, Injury Experiences of Domestic Workers in California, offers insight that these workers need to be added to California's occupational safety and health protections, according to UCLA's Labor Occupational Safety and Health Program. A staggering 85% of respondents describe workplace injuries, with half continuing to work due to fear of losing their job. Supporters say that workplace protections should extend to residential domestic workers, and this would be accomplished through the passing of Senate Bill 1257, the Health and Safety for All Workers Act. SB 1257 was already passed in the state Senate this past June. Councilmember Bob Blumenfield has procured 3,000 bottles of hand sanitizer from Best Formulations Incorporated for distribution in the West San Fernando Valley. Best Formulations Incorporated, Project WAWU, We Are With You, utilizing his Emergency Preparedness Community Action Team, Bobcat, Councilmember Blumenfield will distribute the bottles of sanitizer to constituents, homeless, first responders, seniors, and others, with bottles being dispersed at all local events and directly to local organizations.
Griffith Park is one of the crown jewels of Los Angeles. It's one of over 400 public parks within the city of Los Angeles. And patrolling those hundreds of acres of land is a pretty special group of people. From lost hikers to face mask enforcement, for the LA City Park Rangers, it's all about keeping people safe.
Our department has 450 parks that we patrol, from the harbor area all the way up to the foothills, and then from East Los Angeles all the way to the ocean.
We really don't know what we're responding to on any given day.
It could be law enforcement calls all day. It could be a fire that takes us 12, 13, 14 hours to handle. Or it just could be a lot of making sure that everybody's hydrated, that nobody's lost in the park, that whoever has their vehicle vandalized or burglarized, we take the reports. I mean, we just try to make sure we ensure the safety of all park patrons and that everyone that comes to the park enjoys their stay at the park.
We have a large area to cover. We have 95 miles of trails throughout the city.
All the directives from the governor, we've tried to apply here in the parks.
We're monitoring to make sure that folks are in compliance with the social distancing and with the mask. When we see folks not wearing their mask, we ask them to put the mask on. When there's groups of 10 to 12 people that are congregating, we'll ask them to separate.
What we had to do is all the play areas that are here, we've had to caution tape them off so people don't congregate.
As a precaution, what we're doing is we're closing off the parks at 50% capacity.
When it's over 50%, we shut down all gates that lead into the park. As soon as enough people leave, we reopen up the parks.
It's still it's safe to come out here. We encourage people to come out to the parks and have a good time.
It's time for the latest edition of LA Gives Back. In downtown Los Angeles, Ketchum YMCA mixes exercise equipment with school supplies. And in Council District 9, a local bookmobile provides a literary escape for readers of all ages.
Ketchum Downtown YMCA is providing resources to families in need during the COVID crisis. Today we're delivering 3,000 meals to families. We started bringing these meals to families back in March when this all started.
So we're here today providing healthy summer camp kits for kids to keep them active and moving at home, to talk to them about healthy habits, including healthy eating, physical activity, sleep, and emotional well-being. This is our third location that we're doing at the YMCA, and we're trying to keep these events going because kids need us now more than ever, and families need us. So it's just a little something to keep kids happy and healthy at home.
Para la escuela nos dieron juguetitos, otra pelotita, agua y unos colores y este pelotón.
Programas como este ayudan a la comunidad porque hay muchas familias de las que no están asistiendo a trabajar tampoco y esto les ayuda.
So what you're seeing today is the Bookmobile's free book table at the Central Avenue Farmers Market. We were invited to participate in this market by Councilman Price's office, and it's been absolutely wonderful. This project for me started very personally with my own students at Santee Education Complex, who were bored, frustrated, angry, and depressed in the early weeks of the pandemic. And then as it gradually continued, they reached out to me that they were frustrated, they had nothing to do at home, they were burned out unbelievably.
This is our second time hosting it, and our first one was a great success. Claudia left with little books, so today she's prepared with a lot more books. I think this is something that is needed during this difficult time when kids aren't at school, kids are at home, so it's an opportunity for them to have an avenue to kind of escape reading a book. So they're all free. We have for all ages, so lots of adventures and stories for kids to keep busy at home.
We came last week for fruits and vegetables, and we saw this event about the free books, and they love the books. They started reading it immediately.
Last week, everyone was very grateful. People told me, thank you so much. We don't have any books at home. You're doing a real service to us. And I thought, I'm really happy to do that because I love to read.
Sí, trato de, digamos, porque pienso que entre más conocimiento tengan, pueden tener más, digamos, sabiduría o algo así que los problemas que se les enfrenten el día de mañana cuando van a crecer. Pienso que pueden.
I definitely want to invite everybody to visit the farmers market. We're here every Thursday from 10 to 2. We have vegetables, fruit. You can come and shop. Obviously, wear your mask and practice social distancing. Our bookmobile or book giveaway will be here as well every Thursday. So come out, grab a book, do some shopping, and join us here in the 9 to start.
The Census Bureau of Los Angeles is taking full advantage of the nationwide response extension, and they've got their sights set on South LA. They recently teamed up with field deputies from Council District 15 and the Watts Labor Action Center for the Watts Let's Get Counted event.
We're here at the Watts Labor Action Center to get people to respond to the 2020 census. We've partnered with the Census Bureau, who's here, and he's gonna be helping people out, respond and answer their questions. We've partnered with WECLAC, with the Watts Neighborhood Council, with Councilman Buscaino's office, the mayor's office, to encourage everyone in this neighborhood to respond to the census. The census is a national count of everybody living in this country. And so it happens once every 10 years. And the data that we get from counting everybody is then used to distribute funding to local, state, and tribal governments and to determine political representation at all levels of government.
Es importante yo el estar aquí porque quiero que mi comunidad llene el formulario del censo porque de esa forma vamos a ser beneficiados toda la comunidad para que lleguen los fondos adecuados aquí en Watts.
Participating in the census is private and confidential. Your information is secure. It will never be shared with anybody, including other law enforcement agencies. There is also no citizenship question, or it don't ask you about immigration status on the census. It's really fast and easy to respond to the census. It only takes 5 to 10 minutes and 9 questions. That's it. You can do it in 3 ways. Respond online at my2020census.gov. You can respond by phone at 844-330-2020, or you can respond to the census by mail.
This is the first time I did my census as an adult, and I learned more what is it gonna do to my community and my future kids and the future in the community. So I'm like, wow, this is good for the community.
Preparing for the unthinkable, an active shooter. You can actually prepare. And fortunately, I'm joined today by Mona Curry, who's emergency manager, to tell us all about the program Run, Hide, Fight. How did the preparedness program Run, Hide, Fight within the Los Angeles Police Department get created in the first place?
Well, in 2013, we had an incident in the city of LA that kind of scared a lot of people, including myself. So from that, we started to think about, you know, what would we do if we were in the building at work and that threat appeared? You know, how would we respond? How would we handle it? So the program has 3 options. So run being the best option and the first option, and the one you should always do if you can do, and then there's hide, and then there's fight. So the minute you hear something, you start to think something's going on. If you can run safely away from that threat, that's what you should definitely do.
If you're running from the location, you should stop and provide whatever information, whatever solid information you have to the officers, because that information is key. That's going to be crucial going downrange trying to contact the suspects. I always tell people the same thing. Run out of there and we'll take care of the rest. We always want to minimize the number of victims that are impacted by the actions of an active shooter.
So you can't run. Either you don't know where the sound is coming from, you don't know what's happening, you're terrified out of your mind. Next move is?
Well, then you can hide. So when you hide, you have to do things to really make yourself unknown to the shooter. So you would turn off the lights. If you're in a room, you would lock the door. You would find a safe area, a secure space. While you're hiding, you still have to position yourself to defend yourself if that situation arises.
And the last part, fight.
So fight is the last option. It's the least desirable option. But if you have no other options, you're going to fight. So you have to commit yourself to that act, because if you're making that choice, you're at a very serious point in the whole incident. It's life or death at this point.
Is it possible to actually psychologically prepare yourself?
Well, you can. I mean, so some of the principles that we discuss, you have an awareness of your surroundings. That is the most important thing, is when you're out in public, have an awareness of your surroundings.
Always understand where you are. So if you're in an unfamiliar area, look for those exits. Just, have an idea of the space you're in and what you can do to protect yourself and save yourself if you need to do that.
Your priority is you and your loved ones and your safety.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate all of this very important information, albeit I hope nobody has to use it ever, ever, ever.
Enjoy open-air dining at the El Cid. Discover the On Cabaret Zoom Edition. And the 7th Annual LA Diversity Film Festival goes online. All this next on Virtual Things to Do.
The wildly popular Fever Originals Candlelight series is heading to your favorite outdoor restaurants in their new socially distant and intimate open-air dinner series. Now held exclusively in open-air restaurants, enjoy the pairing of their signature classical music programs and your favorite dishes from El Cid, while the surroundings flicker by candlelight. Prepare to enjoy the best eats LA has to offer and some of the most treasured classical masterpieces. Your dining experience promises to be both magical and relaxing with a candlelight open-air dinner featuring Vivaldi at El Cid, 4212 West Sunset Boulevard. For ticket information, visit their listing on feverup.com. It's been called one of the best live stream comedy shows to watch while quarantining. Beth Lapides brings you Uncabaret Zoom Edition. Join the fun August 9 when her guests Isaac Mizrahi, Julia Sweeney, Alec Mapa, Josie Long, and others share stories, wisdom, rants, and song. Don't miss a legendary comedy innovation largely responsible for the revolution in alt comedy. Uncabaret Zoom Edition rolls out Sunday, August 9th, beginning at 7:30 p.m. For details and ticket information, visit their listing on Eventbrite. Be sure to check out the Los Angeles Diversity Film Festival online. In this current times of a global pandemic and human rights movement, the need and responsibility to bear witness to the stories told by artists from around the world is as important as ever. The Los Angeles Diversity Film Festival highlights narratives and experiences of those that have been left out of the traditional limelight, while celebrating the power of storytelling and filmmaking. This is the first year LADFF will be 100% streamable, using technology to reach a wider audience and amplifying voices with and for the global independent film community. Great Stories are streaming August 4th through the 30th. For more information, visit ladff.com. And that's a look at some virtual things to do.
That's it for this edition. I'm Saida Pagan. From all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.